friends, welcome back to the channel. So I'm coming to you from my floor today, and we're going to go through a kind of a mediocre sort of horror haul, I guess. It's not as big as some of my hauls, but I don't think it's very small either. And most of these books, I think all except for two, are vintage horror. So really happy with my finds over the past month, and was really excited to share it with you guys. So before we get into the haul, as some of you guys know, we did have a death in our extended family. She went into the hospital on January 9th and was put into a medically induced coma because of complications from COVID, and unfortunately she couldn't fight it. So I've been kind of taking a little bit of a step back to grieve, and a lot of you guys have sent me private messages on Instagram, and I really appreciate it. Feeling other people's strength has really helped me through this, and I think it's also just the time of year as well. Like, I get seasonal depression really badly sometimes during this kind of January to February period, and then, as a lot of you know, we also have some political kind of stuff going on here in Canada with some protests and stuff like that, and a lot of that kind of stuff really affects me really deeply. So I've been very off recently. I haven't read a whole lot, and I'm trying to do a little bit of a cleanse from the news and the negativity and everything that I've been having around me. So thank you to everyone who reached out and offered condolences. It meant the world, and of course I passed it on to the rest of the family as well. So besides that, getting into the books, as a lot of you know, when you buy secondhand and vintage books, a lot of the times you find really cute little treasures in the books themselves. And I can't remember exactly which book I bought that these were in, but I did mention in a vlog recently that I had some really cute little treasures that I found in a vintage book, and I'd forgotten to share them with you guys. So I think I'm actually going to start a scrapbook for these little things that I find in books. So here we have Jasmine's cow that she drew and put into the book, and it says "From Jasmine" on the other side. And then this one, Jasmine really liked to draw cows, so we have the pooping cow, and on this side it says "Fatty Patty." So I thought that was so super cute. I'm gonna hang on to these things. Sometimes you find receipts, like original receipts in books, or bookmarks, or I found one of those kind of positivity notes in one of my books recently. So I think I want to hang on to this stuff and start a scrapbook, because this is hilarious. So Fatty Patty has actually become a little bit of a member of our family. We always say, "Go tell it to Fatty Patty." So Matt thought it was hilarious that Jasmine's pictures, her drawings, made it into one of my books. So that was super cute. And the other thing that I got recently, that's not really related to this book haul, is a few years ago Canada Post did a series that was based on Haunted Canada. I think it spanned over 3 years, and they had a stamp series, and you could get these collector's coins and stuff like that, and it was based on really famous ghost stories, Canadian ghost stories. So I did find these on eBay and wanted to get them for my horror kind of ghost story collection, because I love hearing Canadian ghost stories, and these are some of the really famous ones. So out of this series, I'll just hold it up so you guys can see. So this was one of the series. So each one of the stamps represents a famous Canadian ghost story. So this one specifically has the Corriveau and a couple of other famous Canadian ghost stories. And then we have this one up here. This is the ghost of the bride from the Banff Springs Hotel, which is very close to where I live. Banff is a beautiful place, and they have a huge hotel there that's called the Castle in the Mountains, and it's a very haunted place. So one of its famous ghost stories has to do with this bride who ended up dying on her wedding day. And then we have this set here. So some of these are holographic too, which is kind of neat. And we have this one here actually represents the haunted mines in Belle Island, Newfoundland. Belle Island was really famous for its iron ore mines, and like mines anywhere, they had a lot of death happen there. And Belle Island is actually known as Canada's X-Files Island because of how much paranormal activity goes on right there. So it is a hot spot for paranormal activity. So I just wanted to share that stamp collection with you. I have to find some sort of like frame or something that I can put these in, because obviously these are discontinued now. They only came out with like a limited run, so I had to get these off eBay, but really happy to have these, and I really enjoy the stories that are attached to them. So see, this always happens to me. I start talking about ghost stories and then I got creepy shit going on in my house. I need to do a cleansing a little later, because every time I talk about ghost stories, whether it's my own ghost stories or other ones, I got creepy crap happening in my house, and I am home alone this weekend, so that's not cool. So I'm going to be doing a cleansing a little bit later. So I'm going to stop talking about ghost stories right now. Okay guys, so getting into the book haul. So the first one that I have is this one. It is Fear Street, The Beginning. So this is the bind up of the first 4 books in the series. I am missing the first book, I believe, and then I have the other ones that are in here. But I really like having these bind ups because I don't have to worry about ruining my vintage copies. And as far as I know, these are written word for word, as they were kind of, you know, back when they were done back in the 80s and 90s. So I am actually working my way through the first book in this one right now, The New Girl. And I have to say, the very first part of the first book in here, it was kind of dark. I was a little bit surprised at how dark it was, but working my way through that one. I've been at it for a while. Actually, I have read some other books in between actually reading this one. I keep putting it down and picking it up. So really happy to have that, and it has a beautiful cover on it as well. I love the pinks and the purples and everything. So happy to have that. Don't have to worry about ruining my vintage copies, and I'm gonna try to get my hands on some of the other bind-ups as well. So gonna start working my way through the Fear Street series this year. We'll see how far I get, but I did kind of, I've mentioned this before, I kind of want to read them in chronological order. So I have started to do that. So we'll see how far I get with that goal here in 2022. And the other non-vintage book that I have is this one. It's Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. And I've heard of this book before, but don't know a whole lot about it. And I actually got this as a surprise in the mail one day. There was no card that came with it. It got shipped from Book Depository, but I was part of a really big book exchange on Instagram, and I believe that's where this came from. I wish somebody had put like a note in the package so I would have known where it had come from. And it says on the front, "Poignant and hilarious, threaded with compassion, and behind everything, the cataract of a thundering moral statement." And that was by the Boston Globe. And then on the back here it says, "Centering on the infamous bombing of Dresden, Billy Pilgrim's odyssey through time reflects the mythic journey of our own fractured lives as we search for the meaning in what we fear most." So that sounds really good, really super short. So happy to have that for the collection. I don't know if I'm going to get any more books from that book exchange. I did exchange addresses with a couple of people though, so we'll see if I get anything else from that, but was super happy to open the mailbox one day and just have a random book in there, so that was really, really cool. And then next up I've got some Christopher Pike to add to the collection, and I did haul this one. So this is Spooksville #1. I personally haven't read any of the Spooksville books when I was growing up. I think when this came out it was a little bit after my time, and I had kind of moved on to some other things, Fear Street and the adult Christopher Pike and stuff like that. But as far as I can gather, Spooksville is very much like Erie, Indiana, sort of, where things kind of get crazy in this town, and the kids in the town are trying to find out, you know, why the town is the way it is and why it's so weird. So Adam had moved here, and he says he didn't believe all of the stories about Spooksville. So each one has a different adventure that takes place in this mysterious town. So I can't remember where I heard it, but recently I heard that, I think it was from Shady Side Library. He said he had read one of the books and it was kind of skewed a little bit more sci-fi than horror, which is really interesting because I've only ever read horror from Christopher Pike. But as my childhood favorite author, of course, I'm going to continue to collect his books. So even if I don't enjoy this particular series, I am still going to collect these, and you know, they are vintage and they have wonderful covers and everything on them. So this one is a first printing from 1995, so I would have been 13, so I would have been into a little bit more of the YA than the children's horror at that point. But I guess this one was came out as a rival to the Goosebumps at the time. So I'll let you guys know how this one goes if I start the series this year. I'm not sure if I will, but I am going to continue to collect these when I can find them at a decent price. So the next Christopher Pike that I got is Last Act. So I don't see this one around as much as some of the other ones. So this one is from April of 1988. So this one is a little bit more rare from what I've seen. It seems like, you know, with Fear Street and with Christopher Pike and stuff like that, some of the books you always see around, like for Christopher Pike, like Immortal Enemy, Witch, Give Me a Kiss, Fall into Darkness, Bury Me Deep. Those ones you always see, but these ones are a little bit more rare. So when I saw this one pop up on Etsy, I picked it up right away. So this is from one of the shops here that I follow in Canada all the time. It's a girl named Lauren, and her shop is called 90s Fiction with Lauren, and she has great finds there. So I'll leave her link down below if you're looking for a shop on Etsy to stalk and see if you can find some good vintage copies. So this particular one follows a girl named Melanie. Melanie is a new girl in town and she's kind of bored, so she decides to audition for the school play, and she actually wins the starring role. So she starts to befriend some friends in town, but what she doesn't know is that the group of friends that she has kind of become part of their clique, they share a secret past. Something happened in the past and they all share it, and Melanie knows nothing about it. So on the play's opening night, the police come for the body. So obviously there's murder in this, and they also come for Melanie. So Melanie is being framed for murder from what it sounds like. So I haven't read this one personally. This is one of the Christopher Pikes that I didn't read when I was growing up. So super, super excited to have that one for the collection. It is a little beat up around the corners, but I'm just happy to have any copy at all at this point. And then if I find some better copies that are first editions, I can always switch them out in the future. So that's Last Act. And then the other Christopher Pike that I got is The Last Vampire. So I do have The Last Vampire 2 and 3, but the first one is a little bit more rare to get in the series. So this is a first printing from May of 1994, and it does have that wonderful embossing on the cover. Last Act unfortunately does not. I love it when they have the embossed covers. It's very nostalgic for me. So this follows a girl named Alyssa, and she is a 5,000-year-old vampire. So she's pretty much as old as, you know, modern humanity itself. And she thinks that she is the last vampire ever, but now something is starting to hunt her. And she's not sure, is it another vampire? She thought she was the last of her kind, or is it some other kind of monster? And this is a fairly long series. I believe there's 6 books in the Last Vampire series. So this is another one that I didn't read when I was growing up. So happy to have the first one, because like I said, I do have number 2 and 3 in the Last Vampire series, and a friend of mine has number 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to see if I can buy those, and then I'll have the whole series for whenever I want to start reading these. So the next couple of books that I have are in a series actually, and I found it on eBay, and this was the only time that I've ever seen this series. So I'm thinking it's pretty rare. I did not read this as a kid, but what I really thought was amazing about this series is that it has some of our favorite point horror authors. So this is not a horror series. This is actually a series that has to do with cheerleaders. So this is the Cheerleaders series that it looks like it came out in 1985. And one of the things that I love about this series, I have 5 of the books, is these amazing models that they have on the front in all of their 80s glory. Just, I mean, just look at the hair. It's just fantastic. And these books have the best smell. So really, really great condition. And so I have number 1, 2, and then 7, 8, and 9. So I'm missing a little bit of a chunk in the middle, and then I'll have to keep an eye out for the remainder of the series as well. So from what you can gather, this is about cheerleaders in high school. So it's about a group of kids who are actually trying out, and then I guess once they make the team, you know, it's all the drama and the comedy and the cheesiness of vintage YA in high school. So like I said, the reason why I bought these was because not only because they look fantastic, but the first one is by Caroline B. Cooney, who is one of our favorite vintage authors. And then number 2, this is Cheerleaders number 2, Getting Even, Will Jealousy Tear Them Apart? And this one is by Christopher Pike. So I thought this was really interesting that some of our favorite point horror authors are dabbling in some high school drama. And then this one is number 7. This is called Flirting. You Can't Play with Love Without Getting Hurt. And this one is by Diane Ho. So like I said, I love the illustrations on the front of these. And then the other 2 are authors that I haven't heard of. So this is number 8, Forgetting. There Are Some Things You Can't Forget. And this is by Lisa Norby. So I wonder, I'll have to look it up actually to see if like Caroline B. Cooney or Christopher Pike have written any of the others in this series. And this is number 9, Playing Games. Don't take sides unless you're ready to lose. So fantastic cover art. And this one is by Jody Sorensen. So like I said, this is the only time I had ever seen this series anywhere. So I think going on the hunt to try to find more of these books is going to be really fun, because it seems to be a little bit more of a rare vintage series. So let me know if you've heard of this one or if you read them as a kid. I'd be really interested to know. But I just thought it was pretty cool that some of our point horror authors were dabbling in this series about cheerleaders. And then I did get my hands on One Fear Street. So this is Night Games. And this one is more of a rare Fear Street as well. This was the only time I had ever seen this one. This is the first printing from 1996. From what I hear from, I think it was Cameron Chaney said one time in a video that the later Fear Street books are actually the ones that are a little bit more rare, because there weren't as many printed once, you know, the series started to not be as popular. And that is exactly what I'm experiencing. So this one follows a teenager named Diane, and she loves to sneak out in the middle of the night, and so do her friends. And so they all sneak out of their houses so that the town is theirs and they can go do teenager things. And one of those things is they love playing pranks on each other and on people in the town. And it says, but then Diane's boyfriend Lenny wants revenge on a teacher, and the pranks turn to murder. Now Diane and her friends are in too deep, much too deep, with no way out. So prank turned to murder. I mean, it's a classic story, but I was super, super happy to see this, and it's in pretty good, pretty decent condition. Unfortunately, the back cover does have a crease going all the way down the back, but for a first printing of one of the more rare ones, I was happy to get this. So happy to have that one for the Fear Street collection. Okay, and then moving into some point horror and point thriller books. So this one is fairly rare. So this one is The Bride by D.E. Atkins, and I love the embossed lettering. And so there you go, the creepy bride on the cover. And this follows a girl named Jamie, and Jamie's cousin is getting married, and her cousin, he seems to be like a celebrity or someone who's a little bit famous. Oh, he's a supermodel, sorry. And she's really excited to go to the wedding because, you know, everybody and anybody who's kind of famous is going to be there. And the wedding is taking place at Sand Hill, the largest estate in Point Harbor. And nobody knows, but this estate is actually haunted by a bride, the ghost of a bride who never got to make it to her wedding day. She never got to make it to the altar. And it says on the back here, and when strange things start happening to the guests, it's pretty clear that the ghost plans on making sure that Blaine's wedding doesn't happen either, even if it means killing the bride. So we have a murderous ghost. Fantastic cover on this book. Did I say what year this came out? This is a first printing, I believe, as well. No, it is not, actually. It's a second printing from 1996. So this one is a little bit more rare, and I do see it pop up for a fair dollar on eBay, so I was happy to find that one at a decent price as well. And then next up is a point horror. So we have My Secret Admirer by Carol Ellis, and this one has the fantastic sort of neon pink on the cover here, and of course it's all embossed. So Jenny is a new girl in town, and her parents are gone away, so she's kind of bored. She doesn't really, she's, you know, just stuck in the house sort of thing. And she has a secret admirer who is sending her flowers and messages, really nice messages and stuff like that. But someone is also after Jenny, from what it sounds like. It says, someone leaves a dead rattlesnake at her door. A sinister black motorcycle chases her down a deserted road. Does Jenny know too much about the mysterious accident on the cliffs? Jenny has no one to turn to except her secret admirer. But who is he? So that's interesting that we have kind of a secret admirer story, but there's also like a secret sort of accident wrapped in here, like that Jenny knows too much about this particular accident. So really interesting storyline. I love the cover on this one. Like I said, the pink is a nice little bit of a step away from the silver and the red and all of that that we always see with these point horrors. So happy to have that one. And then next up we have Freeze Tag by Caroline B. Cooney. And I also saw this one recently on Shadyside Library as well. Apparently it's not supposed to be the best book, but was happy to have it for the collection anyway. So here we follow three people. So we have Megan, West, and Lanny, and they're playing freeze tag. So this takes place kind of when they're a bit younger, and they're playing freeze tag. But when Lanny tags someone, they actually do freeze, like solid ice. And so with her newfound power, Lanny extracted a horrible promise from West. The handsomest boy on the block. You must always like me best, she demanded. So now the kids are all in high school, and West and Megan are now dating, and Lanny is very, very jealous of that. So it says, West and Megan are in love, the perfect couple, until Lanny reminds West of his promise. He can't refuse because he knows what will happen. Lanny will freeze Megan to death. So kind of jealous girl story, but really happy with the condition of this book. It's in pretty good condition. The spine is not cracked. There's no creases in the cover. So was happy to find that one for the collection as well. And then getting into a couple that are completely new on me. So this is Dark Lullaby by Jessica Palmer. And this sounds like a really, really creepy story. I'm hoping to get to this one very, very soon. So on the back here, it's actually blurbed by James Herbert. It says, compulsive reading and stunning chills all along the way, a fine debut. So this is Jessica Palmer's debut novel. And so we have a pair of grieving parents and a younger sister who moved to a new town, into a new house, because there was a tragedy in their family, and their other daughter had actually died in a fire. So they're trying to restart their lives. And it says here, the spirit of 11-year-old Shelley Graves, who died the night the house caught fire, has followed her family to their new home. She knows the family's secrets, a litany of unspeakable abuse and twisted shame that helped destroy her. So family secrets. that resulted in a death, and now we have a vengeful ghost. And then she has kind of made an alliance with sort of an evil spirit, and she has chosen a new vessel to possess, from what it sounds like, and that is her younger sister Sarah, who is, you know, obviously an innocent child. And it says at the bottom, "For Shelley's father, mother, and helpless grandmother, the time has come. For the violation of the innocent, the ultimate price will be paid." So this sounds really, really interesting to me, totally intriguing. So when this popped up, I actually got this one from Spooky Sellables, who I talk about all the time on the channel. She has the most amazing finds, so I'll leave a link to her shop down below as well. And so when this popped up, I had to grab it. And then the other one that I got from Spooky Sellables shop was this one, Save the Last Dance for Me by Judy Miller. So this has the most fantastic cover art. So this came out from Pocket in, oh, and this is the first printing as well. So this came out from Pocket in 1981. And so we have the cover here and the wonderful step back cover art. So this one is in fantastic condition. This one was a little bit more expensive because it was a first printing. But I'm just going to read you the full synopsis from the back because it's so creepy. So it says, "A glamorous world of music and movement and sensual excitement. Now someone is watching Jennifer. He watches her beauty, her grace, her supple young body. He watches the curves of her slender neck as she smiles at her lover. He watches from the shadows and smiles, plotting, imagining her dazzling gifts are his alone, imagining her soft, warm flesh beneath his hands. He watches with tingling excitement as he watched all of the other girls, all of those other times. He has waited so long, so patiently. Soon now, Jennifer will dance for the very last time." So that sounds amazingly creepy, and it reminds me very much of Phantom of the Opera, which is another very creepy story. So this sounds really, really good. Really, really happy to have this. It's in great condition considering it's a first printing from 1981, and like I said, it has that amazing step back cover art. So really, really happy to have that one for the collection as well. So there you guys go. That is everything that I hauled in the past month or so. I've got the ghost stamps. Not going to talk about ghost stories anymore today. We found some treasures. We found Fatty Patty in one of the books here. And we've got all of these wonderful vintage copies to add to the collection. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a question or a comment down below because you know I love chatting with you. But until next time, guys, stay spooky. Bye.